Program Manager for Measure 110 with the OHA, and I will be facilitating today's meeting. We will be recording this meeting for purposes of sharing with members who are not able to attend. Please remember that this is a public meeting. We are live on YouTube, and the chat is subject to public record. If you have any connectivity issues, please reach out to currently Sydney McConnell, who is running our Zoom until Jessica Carroll can join us. If you could please drop your email, Sydney, into the chat. And I believe, there is Onisha. Marvelous. All right, so heads up everyone, now we are going live on YouTube.
Sorry.
Hi Onisha, welcome.
Hey, you guys.
Hi, glad you're here. We're just getting started. So, welcome, good afternoon / evening. I am Angela Carter. I'm the Program Manager for Measure 110, and I will be serving as the facilitator for today's meeting. This is a special meeting of the subcommittee to award the Measure 110 Behavioral Health Resource Network funds. So today we will be voting for final awards. The Oversight and Accountability Council welcomes and encourages community input. Members of the public are invited to submit public comments or to get on our interested party email list by emailing oha.measure110@dhsoha.state.or.us. And that email address and more information about the council can be found on the Measure 110 OAC website. For more information, or if you need any support with community engagement, please reach out to Jessica Carroll. We do not have outside OHA staff present with us today beyond the Measure 110 team, but if everyone could please drop your information into the chat so that if it is needed, anyone can reach out. And here we go. All right. We have currently with us 5 members, which means that we have quorum for the requirement of at least half of the subcommittee being present. So, Walter, when you are ready, if we could take attendance, that would be helpful. Or we can also just quickly walk through who's here and take note and put it in the chart later. That's okay.
Okay. So I think that might be quicker. Good to see everybody. I have Hubert, I see Ron, Keisha.
Is not here yet.
Oh, Keisha's not here yet. Okay. Oh, Nisha's here. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
And Melinda.
Yep.
And Melinda and Amy. So we've got the 5, 1, 2, 3. Yep. And then Keisha when she comes. So we got the 5.
Awesome. All right. So today we will be reviewing Benton County. There are a total of 13 entities in Benton. I will read through them first, and then it would be helpful for us for tracking any conflicts if we could have anyone's conflicts of interest that they may have with Benton County at the beginning. I'll remind everyone as we go through the list also that it would be the right moment to step out if you have a conflict of interest. But let's start with, are there any declarations of conflicts for Benton County? And I will read through the list now so that you know who we are working with today. In Benton County, the applicants were Boulder Care Incorporated, Ideal Option, the Benton County Health Department, Chance, Community Services Consortium, Corvallis Daytime Drop-In Center, Corvallis Housing First, Crossroads Communities, Family Recovery Incorporated, Family Tree Relief Nursery, FHC, the Pathfinder Club of Oregon, and Samaritan Health Services Incorporated. So I know that some of you have had an opportunity to go through this process before, but for the sake of simplicity, I will go through a quick reminder of the process for everyone here. So as we go along, I will read the name of each of the entities and then ask for anyone who has conflicts of interest to declare those. If they are actual, we ask that you turn off your camera and mute your mic for the duration of the discussion of that entity. If they are potential conflicts of interest, at that time you would declare the conflict. But if OGEC has advised you that you are able to stay present and be a part of the conversation and the vote, then you can stay in the room for that. After conflicts of interest, we will share with you information on the rubrics of what the recommendations were from each of the rubrics. And then we will have an opportunity for some discussion. We will ask for someone to make a motion and a second. This time, I think to make it easier, the way that I think would be good to go would be, rather than voting for or against the recommendation, I think it would be easier to say a motion to fully award, a motion to partially award, listing each of the services that you would want to award, or a motion not to award. So we have three options really for different motions. So if we can get a motion and a second, there would then be room for more discussion as needed, and a chance, if needed, to alter the motion to fit the temperature of the room. And then once we have the motion and the second and all discussion is concluded, we would move to a vote. The vote is, so there are 7 people in the group. We need a minimum of 4 votes for the motion in order for it to pass. So just to clarify, we have a total number of 7 members of this subcommittee. 4 or more members make quorum, and also 4 or more votes are required to pass the motion. If anyone needs any clarification on any of this, please feel free to let me know, and I can offer some more information. All right. So then we will go through the list of the 13 entities. We'll go through the process as I just described, and we will take some bio breaks on the hour to make sure that everybody is feeling good and healthy and can get their snacks. And let's see. Just wanted to briefly make mention that the discussion that we will have today needs to be maintained as what is in the rubrics and the application. We are not to discuss information that may have come from the internet or from prior knowledge of the entity or from relationships that you may have with people who work at the entity. We need to base our decisions solely on the information that is contained in the application. If you have questions about the entity or about the recommendations, and you would like further information, you may also choose to postpone decisions on that entity and ask for OHA to provide you with that information to come back for a vote at a later date. So actually that's potential for 4 motions. Award fully, award partially with the programs listed that you want to award, not to award, or to come back and vote at a later date. So those are our 4 options. I see that Keisha has just entered the room. Welcome, Keisha. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been running through a little bit of the details of the process. But if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to jump in and ask what we're doing. So all that said, is there anyone who would like to declare a conflict of interest for any of the entities in Benton County at this time? Okay. I also want to make room today for some discussion of the subcommittee's schedule moving forward. We can do that at the beginning and get that out of the way, or if you would prefer, we can save it for the end Yes, Keisha.
So I'm not thinking the whole county, but certain agencies
Mhm.
might be a conflict.
Yes, certain agencies. Would you like me to read through the list of the entities again, or do you have the agenda? We can
No,
also I can
things.
pop it up on the screen if that would be helpful.
What are we reviewing today?
We are reviewing Benton County.
Well, yeah, no conflicts.
Okay, great. All right. So, would you all prefer to start with a conversation about the schedule and get that done, or would you like to save that for the end of the meeting? Is there any preference?
I do just have one point I want to make.
Yes, please, Ron.
I've heard a couple people ask me about the location of the rubrics, and they're in an email that was sent out day before yesterday. I think it was day before yesterday. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
And I'm just want to make sure everybody has that email and can see the rubrics.
I couldn't.
All right. I can resend all of the rubrics to you for Benton County. I will send them now just to make sure that they are at the top of your inbox so that you have what you need to do the votes. Please hold for one moment.
And just kind of as a little bit of a primer, when you get the email and you click on the Excel spreadsheet, the first page you open will be a summary of the recommendations from the, looks like only OHA staff people who completed it. And then on the bottom of that page, you look across the bottom, you'll see all the rubrics for each individual organization.
All right. So those rubrics and the agenda should be in your inbox in a matter of moments. And before we get rolling, I want to make sure everybody has it. All right. When you've received them, would you give me a heads up so that I can get rolling with the process? Okay, great. Thank you, Melinda. And Ron, I think you have yours. Amy, you've got yours. Hubert, you've got yours. Great. And Onisha, let me know, and Keisha, let me know when you're good. Okay. When you're ready, Keisha, just give me a thumbs up and we'll go.
Ready.
Okay. All right. So I'm thinking, I'm hearing that y'all want to just get rolling and maybe we can have the conversation at the end about the schedule. So let's do that. All right. So now we can begin. We will be beginning Benton County with Boulder Care Incorporated. There are 2 reviews. Review number 1, the recommendation is not to fund. Review number 2, the recommendation is not to fund. Boulder Care has asked to provide substance use disorder treatment, peer support, and harm reduction for Benton County. So I will begin with, are there any conflicts of interest that anyone would like to declare? Hearing none, would you all like to begin with discussion, or would someone like to make a motion?
Can
I move that we accept. I move, I move that we accept the recommendation not to fund. Boulder Care.
So the recommendation, would it be okay to do the, for simplicity's sake, would it be okay to do the motions to award, partially award, or not to award? Just so that we don't
I
get,
move to, wait, say it again because you got my
sorry,
language.
award, partially award, or not award.
So we're not accepting recommendations? I'm being clear about that.
It's a good point. It just does make the languaging a little more confusing, but okay. If you would like to go with
No,
the
I'm
recommendation,
asking you. I'm taking direction from you here.
Yes, maybe Ryan, the motion is to accept the recommendation not to award.
okay, let's go with that. That's
Okay.
fine. So we have a motion, we have a second. The motion is not to award for Boulder Care. Is there any discussion? All right, are you ready for a vote? Okay, Walter, whenever you feel ready.
Okay, Amy.
I agree. I don't know how to say it.
No,
I agree.
got you. Thank you. Ron, how do you?
So
Ron?
yes vote would be not to
Yeah, so
award.
yeah, that just confused me.
Oh, okay.
Yes, is that
Got you.
right?
Yep. Yes. All right. Hubert.
I agree to go with the recommendation.
Okay. Yes, not the fun. All right, Melinda.
Yes, I agree to go with the recommendation.
Got you. All right. And Onisha? Onisha, are you there? Oh, we'll come back. Lakeisha, how about you?
I agree to go with the recommendation not to fund.
Okay. All right. Onisha, are you there? So as it stands, we that the vote passes not to fund.
All right. So next up, we have Ideal Option. Ideal Option has offered to provide substance use disorder treatment for Benton County. We have 2 reviews. Recommendation number 1 is a no. Recommendation number 2 is for a partial and or no. So in the rubric, I
I'm
believe
sorry, Angela. Did you guys call me? I had to step out the car and pick up some stuff from one of my families. I'm back in the car now.
okay, that's okay. We just went through Boulder Care and we took a vote, and the final decision was not to award for Benton County.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So now we're voting for Ideal Option. Ideal Option has offered to provide substance use disorder treatment for Benton County. And there are 2 recommendations. One is not to award, the other is not to award or a partial award. in the rubric, in the tab that says ideal option 2, in column G, number 11, is a detailed description of the reviewer's opinion on why not to award or only partially award. Feel free to review that recommendation. And at this time, I will ask, is there anyone who would like to declare a conflict of interest for ideal option in Benton County? All right, hearing none. We have 2 recommendations, one to not award, the other to either partially or not award. Would anyone like to have some discussion or make a motion on ideal option? I'll give you a moment to
I was
read through.
at the no partial explanation, and it's a whole lot of unanswered questions. And so if we can't get an answer to make a decision, I'm thinking of just needing to know.
Okay, a second Keisha's motion.
So we have a motion and a second, and I'm hearing that it is not to award. Is that correct, Keisha?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any further discussion that you all would like to have about ideal option for Benton County?
Oh, just a second. Okay. Oops. Sorry about that, you guys. Okay. So the motion was with Keisha and then seconded by Ron. Correct? Or was it Amy?
Seconded by Amy.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's take it from the top. Thanks, you guys, for your patience. Amy, how do you want to vote?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ron? Ron says, how do you vote, Ron? Yes?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes,
Okay.
I'm kind of going back and forth between looking at the rubrics and trying to.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Don't want to rush you guys. Okay. Hubert?
Yes.
Thanks, Hubert. Melinda?
Yes.
Okay. Onisha?
Yes.
Okay. And Keisha?
Yes.
Okay. Unanimous. 6.
All right. The final decision for ideal option is not to award for Benton County. All right. Next up, we have a set of organizations working together to create a full burn. We'll start with Benton County Health Department. Benton County Health Department has offered to provide harm reduction services for.
I'm sorry, can I stop you right there? Can I stop you right there? Sorry.
Yes.
You said there's a set, and so all of the following are all.
Yes, all of the remaining entities are part of a set that would make up a full burn. In that full burn, there are 3 organizations providing harm reduction, 4 organizations providing housing, 5 organizations providing peer support, and 2 organizations providing substance use disorder treatment, and 4 organizations providing supported employment. So we have a number of opportunities here, and I will read through each of the services that each of the entities is offered to provide with each one. So for Benton County Health Department, the first in the list of the Benton County burn, there are 2 evaluations. The first is yes or partial. The second is a yes. So if you would like to look at the rubrics that are listed Benton County 1 and 2 in G11, there is a description of the recommendation.
Can I make a motion now, Angela? Because I'd like to say yes and partially fund Benton County.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to
I'm a
partially
little-
fund.
Are
Go
we
ahead, Keisha.
going, because Benton County is the whole shebang. So are we
This
talking about
is,
first one or is we talking about,
this is for Benton County Health Department, which is a part of the full Benton County burn.
Right, they're not the whole burn, they're just a part, Keisha. That's why I said partial fund,
oh, partial?
partial
Okay.
fund. Yes for partial fund.
And Ryan seconded?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so we have,
Yeah, that is a question I have about the
Yes.
use, how the staff is using the term partial.
mhm,
Because within the application, and I'm not looking at the application, and I'm not sure that on the rubric that they're listing the total amount requested. I'm looking for that.
on the rubric under Benton County Health Department on, it's column M, M as in Mary, the overall budget is listed. And I believe that what was meant in this rubric by partial funding is around the health department is only offering to provide harm reduction services.
Okay, all right. Not a full burns, not a complete burn service is what they mean by partial. Not a
Yes.
complete burn. Okay,
Well, I think what they meant was the funding recommendation would be partial. The concern was around salaries
okay.
and whether or not the funding would be supplanting other salaries that are supplanting salaries that were funded by another source.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah, I was trying to look and see why they were saying partial and what that was about, but yeah.
So Benton County Health Department providing harm reduction services, and the recommendation was to award them for harm reduction services, but to look at the budget and consider the salaries. So we have a motion and a second at this time to fund
Partially.
partially
Except to
With-
partially.
with a view of the budget and a review of that prior to funding to make sure that the salaries are not being supplanted.
Okay.
Any
All right.
further discussion? Oh, and are there any conflicts of interest? I apologize. I did not ask that at the beginning. I don't believe that there are because there were none declared at the beginning, but I just have to check. All right.
All right, let's take this vote. All right, Amy, how do you vote?
I agree. Yes.
Okay, accept to partially fund. Okay. Ron?
Yes,
Okay. Hubert?
Yes.
All right. Melinda?
Yes.
Okay. Onisha?
Yes.
And Keisha?
Yes.
Gotcha. All right, 6. And we can move to the next one. Passes unanimously.
Awesome. Thank you all. All right. Next entity in the Benton County burn is Chance. Chance has offered to provide peer support, housing, and harm reduction services for Benton County. We have 2 reviews. The first review is no or partial, and the second review is partial award. And if you look at the rubric at chance 1 and chance 2 in G11, there is a detailed explanation of why there are those recommendations. There is some concern with some inconsistencies in the application around the funding and how it would help them reduce barriers to access to those services. I'll let you all have a moment to read through the description and the recommendation. And when I will ask again, are there any conflicts with chance? All right, when you are ready.
I would move to recommend, this is Ron, I would move to recommend partial. Gonna be my recommendation.
I agree. Second.
Are there particular services out of the set of 3 that you would like to recommend? They had offered peer support, housing, and harm reduction.
It's kind of hard without seeing the application to see
Right.
which.
As I looked through the rubric, it appeared that where there seemed to be question was around housing expenses, particularly the way that they address vouchers. And so, because that would be where the question was, I would recommend the peers and harm reduction.
Okay, so I'm hearing a recommendation to fund for peer support and harm reduction.
I didn't hear that, but I know the partially fund. I think we got to map out why they were saying no and what's partial. I don't know that we have enough time in this vote.
Right, that's exactly right.
So like, this is what I'm going to ask for the application to see.
Right, the evaluator number 2 stated they would consider a partial because the application and budget did not align. The motel voucher program is not reasonable. And that was the part that I was looking at, the motel voucher program.
If the group is asking to parking lot this, we can definitely send the applications out to you all.
Yes, let's parking lot this one.
I agree. Let's parking lot it.
Okay,
And
would you all
parking
like,
lot, this will be the first one we look at the next time we meet, correct? And we'll all have an answer then, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, because I'd like to read the application, frankly.
all right, so in order to parking lot, I don't necessarily think we need a motion, but I'm hearing from everyone that you would like to take this application under further consideration and return to it at a later date. So we will move on for now. All right. The next entity in the Benton County burn is Community Services Consortium. Community Services Consortium has offered to provide housing and supported employment in services in Benton County. Are there any conflicts of interest that anyone would like to declare for Community Services Consortium? Okay, so we have 2 recommendations. The first is for partial award. The second is a yes for full award. So we have some differing opinions. If you would like to look under the tab that says CSC 1 and 2, you will find the information on the entity. Feel free to take your time with reading. And if you would like to have some discussion at this point, go right ahead.
Um, as we're reading, I'm looking at reviewer ones, and it's a lot of concerns with um the population they serve, less than half with SUD, the wages, and for the participants, it's only what 31K for 18 months for 5 people. Uh,
So for the sake of simplicity for the vote, if we can do full award, meaning all of the services that they have applied to offer would be funded, with the caveat that we would go back and look at the budget and clarify exactly how much would be awarded later. So full is for all services. Partial is for less than the services that they applied for. So if they applied for 3 and you only want to award 2 services, that would be a partial. And then of course, no award would mean no funding. So just a reminder that we will go back and look at the budgets and negotiate with the entities around the final award amount. So for this vote, all we need is to know the services that you want to fund.
Well, as I'm looking at the rubric, they're only offering housing and supported employment. Is that correct?
it looks like, yeah. And I was looking at the second reviewer, like the first one is like partial, the second one is like, yeah, but then it says to explain how they're working with the tribal communities. And I'm just wondering, that kind of threw me off a little bit. So it's hard.
I mean, I would recommend a yes, partial funding, but however, there are questions in the housing section and questions, financial questions or monetary questions. So a yes would be able to move it forward, but allow OHA to negotiate on the and the OAC to decide the financials at a later time. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. So if you want, and I think what I have on the top sheet, let's see, I may have misread. I apologize if I did. Yes, housing and supported employment. I apologize. I misread and accidentally included harm reduction in that list,
Yeah.
but it is correct. It's only those 2.
This Hubert. So all I'm seeing is that they're doing housing and employment support. I don't see nothing about harm reduction.
Exactly.
Anything that has to do with helping people that's on drugs. This is just like a housing first program. That sounds to me.
Yes, housing and supported employment. I misread my sheet and accidentally threw harm reduction in there, but they're only doing housing and supported employment.
Yeah, we do more than just housing in this program here. We just ain't doing housing and jobs. we're supporting people with peer support and trying to, get off drugs and been impacted by it. I don't know, housing's needed. Housing's needed. Employment's needed, but who are they housing and who are they giving the jobs to?
Oh, in the first rubric review, it alludes to that. It was like they don't understand if the people will be eligible to receive Measure 110 related support. So
right, because there's a lot of money for housing. I mean, I don't know about Benton County, but I know there's a lot of money for housing in our county. So I don't know what's going on with Benton County as far as housing and employment funding. Now, if there's wraparound services, if this was wraparound services, that included some harm reduction services and some treatment, stuff like that, then I could probably see where it would fit in. But just housing and employment, that kind of, to me, is kind of like not enough to get funded by this Measure 110 to me, if I'm not seeing it right.
This would be a part of a larger cluster of organizations.
Yeah, they all gotta have the burn, Hubert. So all of us gotta have some subsection. So in every county, we gotta have supported employment, we gotta have housing, we gotta have harm, we gotta have them all.
It's all part of one burn.
Right.
It's not all part of one burn, but ideally they want every county to have one of each.
Okay.
Ideally.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Then. I hear you. I understand now. So everybody's supporting everybody. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Ideally, yeah.
Okay. All right. I see. All right. Because housing is needed, and so is job support. Okay, if that's the case. All right. I just thought it was just separate. They were just being separate. All right.
So there's a motion and a second to partially fund.
And
Housing.
when you say partial, do you mean housing and supported employment? Or
no, I'm saying partially fund housing and supported employment, meaning that we would need to revisit the budget.
Definitely, we can revisit the budget.
I have a concern. So if we have these reviewers saying, if one person is saying no, and one person is saying partially funding, and they're putting very realistic reasons about why, if we have the rubrics only to go on, unless we ask for each one, we need the application, which I think could potentially slow up our process.
Right.
Can we not say, well, this person said no, and this one said partially fund. Can we all agree to partially fund and let OHA figure out the wash? Let OHA look at the concerns and negotiate with that organization and fine tune the contract based upon the concerns and the issues that the reviewers had.
That's exactly right.
I agree with Onisha. Absolutely.
That's exactly right.
I agree with that too. I do.
Yes.
Yes.
So in that case, a full award would be to award all of the services that they applied for. A partial award would be to only fund some of the services that they applied for, and then not to award. So we will go back with each of these entities. We will look at the budget. We will take into account the details that the council would like us to consider in the decisions for funding, and we'll negotiate with the entities. The vote for today would just be basically which of the programs that the entity is offering would you like to fund? And we'll get back to the details later.
Sounds good.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Did we lose
So,
Keisha?
Keisha had to step away for a moment.
But we're still good to vote.
I think that we
have to make the motion. We haven't, nobody made the motion yet.
I think we have to clarify what the motion is. If you want all of the programs to be funded, some of the programs, or none of the programs.
This is Amy. I'd like to make a motion to partially fund with a significant review of the budget by OHA.
When you say partially fund, do you mean that you don't want housing, or you don't want supported employment to be a part of this. Does
I
that
mean,
make
it needs
sense?
to look, it needs to be reviewed by staff. I mean, we
We-
need to do
Right,
that.
that's what we've been saying, I think, is that we don't want to eliminate either one of them, but we want to revisit the budget,
Yeah, that's why I'm saying,
the funding
I
level.
wanna,
So partial
Oh.
funding wouldn't be eliminating one of the two services being offered.
it would be reviewing them and
that-
deciding
It'd be
in
reviewing.
contract
the
negotiations, what will be funded and how much.
So,
correct.
so if we, like, depending on what the concern is for what we should be funding, why, I just don't understand why we're picking, what elements to fund if we don't have the full picture. Like, if housing is absolutely a no-go, but you're saying we vote to partially fund housing and supportive employment, does that mean at the end we have to fund them both, even if, like, in the contract it's not 100% clear, or it's zero clear, and we want to drop the housing part and just fund the supportive employment? I'm just unclear around partial funding and picking elements without all the information.
So with the vote, if you want to fund all of the programs that the entity has offered, that would be a full award.
Right.
For all of the entities, we're going to go back, we're going to look at the budgets, we're going to clarify the need, clarify if there is any supplanting of funds, and figure out the details of the exact funding award. But for this vote, all we need to know is, do you want to fully fund, meaning all the programs, partially fund, meaning only some of the programs, or not fund at all? And
Right.
we will go back to all of the budgets regardless and review them for what your recommendations are in the future.
I'm sorry, I guess the language you're using is confusing me. Because we'll put a motion on and say vote for partial funding, and then you go back and ask for housing and the elements. And so I guess maybe it's just me in the way I'm interpreting it.
Would different wording potentially work better? Maybe to fund all the programs, some of the programs, or none of the programs? Would that simplify it?
I think partial funding simplifies it for me. That's what I see. Like, we don't know to what extent which program we're going to fund, but we're going to partially fund whatever is above board and fits our values.
And that's what I just made the motion for, was to partially fund with review of the budget, an in-depth review of the budget.
Right, that's right, Angela. What's happening is you're asking us to pick up the programs we want to fund, and that's just not how we evaluated the applications.
Okay.
In terms of which service, we weren't picking services within a particular application. We're funding the proposer and the services they were proposing, not deciding of this proposer, which of these services would we fund. That's not how we were approaching it, is my understanding.
Okay. Do you, in circumstances where perhaps you see an entity that is offering to provide substance use disorder treatment, peer support, and housing, so 3 different services,
Right.
and you say, wow, their peer support and housing are great, but I don't like their substance use disorder treatment program, how would you like to work with that motion? The way that I had it laid out was full award meant for all the programs. Partial meant I like peer support and housing, but I don't want to fund substance use disorder
Right.
treatment. And then none, obviously, none of those.
Yeah, I was
And
reading partial as being either a reduced overall amount or a different negotiated amount.
So
I
you're
agree with
going,
Ron, because sometimes you can agree to fund them completely on everything they ask for, but say I'm not gonna buy you 4 new vans. I'm only gonna buy you 1 new van. So it's gonna be partial funding, but that's not saying I'm not gonna allow you to get all of the programs you asked for, because I think you can do them all, but I just think you need one van instead of 3 or instead of 4.
And that will definitely be negotiated in the future. But
And
what
But that's
we're
what I'm
trying-
saying in my motion, Angela. That's what I'm saying is it can be negotiated out in the future.
But
We
what we're
we
trying,
are agreeing to partially fund their program
And
in
you mean-
part,
all of the programs.
all of the programs, but they have to be reviewed.
Every single one will be definitely
Right.
reviewed. But I'm
Okay.
just trying to capture if there are organizations that have multiple programs and you don't want to fund one or more of the pieces of that organization, then that's what I was saying as partial. All of the entities are probably going to receive partial funding because we received over 400 million in asks and we only have 265 million to spend. So therefore, all of the entities will have a smaller amount awarded, likely, than what is in their budget. So no matter what, we'll be going back and negotiating with them and, dealing with the financial piece at a later date. What we're trying to capture right now is, do you want all of the programs that they offer funded? Or do you want only 3 of the 4 funded? Or do you want none funded?
So
So
what I
you want to hear us say, yes, they applied for housing, harm reduction, and peer support. Yes to housing, yes to peer support, and no to harm
yes,
reduction. That's what you want to hear from us.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what I'm aiming for.
Okay, thank you.
so that's the hard part. Like, as we looking at the rubrics, right? One
Yeah.
reviewer says they're very weak in this area, and has all these concerns. We really don't have time to go back and look at the application. But at the budget review or wherever, who does it next can see all the inconsistencies. So I don't want to say, yes, we're going to fund housing when we don't have all the information, or yes, we're going to fund supportive employment. We're going to partially fund them, and whatever they're above ground on, it could be both, but it could be one. So I don't understand, I guess I'm a little confused with making that decision without.
Yeah, I agree with Keisha. I don't think we have that. The rubric is not expressing what you're expressing. That one program versus another, one service versus another service. That's not reflected in the rubrics. It's not being evaluated that way.
If you were to look at column G, at the top of each of the service elements, for instance, let's look at housing services in CSC 2, in column G and in the very top of housing in column G. It is listed whether or not the reviewers would support funding that particular program of the entity. So
what number is that? It's hard to go back and forth because you can't see the full.
Yeah.
for the number for housing services is 46G. That is where a recommendation for the specific program is listed for each of the entities. So housing would be 46G, and then harm reduction would be 55G, but there's no housing here. And then supported employment would be 62G.
Right.
So all of the recommendations for each of the different program pieces of the entities are listed in G.
Real quick, for the first rubric evaluator, they have the same thing on line 11 that they have in 46, which is exactly the same and all the concerns. So it's like, I still can't disseminate when it's saying the exact same thing, like all the concerns that are in there.
I think that the concerns in G11 are the concerns for the entirety of the application. And so if you look in G11, it will talk about all of the services that they're offering
But
and
I'm
break
looking,
down in detail why they think to award or not to award.
so I'm looking at G46 and it's like a copy and paste because it says the same thing. Just same concern.
Right, and that's kind of the point I was making, was from the summary and from the rubrics, I'm not sure that we can pick and choose which services. That's unless we do this granular grid by grid, square by square walkthrough of the services for each evaluator for each program. I mean, I'm saying if you wanted, if that's what we're doing, that's what we're doing. But so we're talking about, from my perspective, this question of partial funding overall, and then letting the contracting process figure out the funding levels for the services, or picking and choosing here and now which of the services we want to fund per proposer. That's what we're talking about, right? So do we have a motion and a second on this particular proposal, this entity?
I think we had a motion in a second to partially fund. The rub is which elements to fund.
Right.
Right. We had a motion by Amy, then we didn't get the second, but that motion was to partially fund.
Both services.
Partially fund, review budget later. I think that's.
We will review all of the budgets and all of them will receive partial funding. We just need to pick the service elements. If you want both housing and supported employment, we can do both of those. If you want only one of those, we can do one of those or none.
I guess
So-
circling back to this when we said we can't make an informed decision without all the information. I guess that's why I keep getting confused. We keep circling back.
Because we're saying we don't have the information to pick one service or another service.
Would you like to put this one in the parking lot for a
They
later
gave
date?
us some rain boots.
I think the
Somebody
thing is,
said-
I keep putting a parking lot if we have to make that decision up front.
Didn't we agree to trust what the evaluators evaluated and then we'd work it out later?
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
So we just need to make decisions on whether we're gonna partial, fully, or not.
We partial funding, but we have to decide on the elements. And like I'm saying, the reviewer put in a lot of concerns around some of the elements. And I'm saying that we don't have the contract, but the other people will have the contract to look over what's not matching, what doesn't meet our values. But we don't have all the information to make that decision. What we just saying is partially fund, and whatever that comes out at the end, it's partially funded.
So that means they're gonna decision on who gets how much money, even if we vote or not.
So let's vote on that. Keisha, what Keisha just said.
Perhaps giving you some background on the reason of the service element choices is helpful. When we build the contracts, we need to know which service elements each of the entities will be providing so that we can create the contract with the correct language for each of those service elements. Every single grant agreement that is approved will have negotiations of the final amount for award regardless. All will get partial funding out of the total that they asked for. We just need to know, do you want all of the services that they will provide or a subset of those services? And I understand that that is a difficult decision to make. But with the vote, we need to know which ones you would like in the contract. And if you would like for the community
So
services
just so
consortium,
we're clear, just so I'm clear, the evaluators for the, what is it? The Community Services Consortium,
yes.
one recommended partial, one recommended yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there are two services that are being offered by the consortium, housing
Mm-hmm.
and supported employment.
Right.
Yes.
And so what you're saying is that the proposer, the evaluator who recommended partial was only recommending one of the services be funded.
I believe that in the rubric, the main concerns voiced were around the housing element. I will let you read to confirm, but I believe that that is
Like, for example, in the first evaluators summary on line 62C, it says one of the major concerns of this section, they estimate serving around 40% those with SUD. So less than half of their clients would be SUD folks and who are being housed and supported with employment. Yeah, so like it's concerns on both the housing and the supported employment. So I just don't understand. And I know, and I guess our brains are just working differently. But it seems like you can, I don't know. In the end,
Just vote.
I mean, in the end, I don't know if we would partially fund both of them or partially fund one. I mean, from looking at the evaluator, there's a lot of concerns, but only the person who's actually seeing the contract and the budget can really disseminate.
Yes. So then we can vote. If it's that, to me, vote no. Then that's my opinion. If there's a lot of concerns.
Okay, now that I'm reading some of this, now that I'm reading some of this in detail, looking at the concerns under the, they list concerns in the housing section. One major concern, particularly A20 proposal addresses the needs of Measure 110 communities. And then the one major concern is that they only seem to serve a population in their supported employment that serves less than half of those with SUD. So, and then, and so the, and then down in the supported employment section, one major concern in the section is the estimate of serving around 40% of those with SUD. So if we're choosing between one or the other, then I would suggest that we, suggest that we fund supported employment and not the housing, because there's some questions around the population that's going to be served by the housing.
Then in the supportive employment, it's like the concern is how are they gonna reach the Measure 110 population specifically?
So if there, to me, if there's that much concern, then I don't have no problem with voting right now. I just don't. I could just see. I mean, if it's not a fit, then we don't have to accept their recommendation. We don't.
Hubert, can you make a motion then? Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I want to make a motion. Yeah,
State your motion then.
my motion is to vote no.
Oh, I second Hubert's motion.
So the motion on the table is to vote no award for this entity. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
That is correct.
All right. I am hearing a no proposal. And is there any further discussion that anyone would like to have on Community Services Consortium for Benton County? All right. So the motion is not to award for Community Services Consortium. Would you please take the vote, Walter?
Yep. All right. Amy.
I vote
How do you-
yes.
Okay. All right. Ron?
I'm sorry, what are you voting yes for?
I'm saying no, we're not funding. I'm
Okay.
agreeing with the motion.
Okay.
That sounds smart. I didn't mean to. I was trying to chase the baby. I'm sorry.
It's all
That's
right.
all right. I'll agree.
Thanks, Ron. Hubert?
I agree. No.
Melinda?
Yes.
Okay.
Not to
Onisha?
fund.
Not to fun. Got you. All right.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Onisha. Lakeisha?
Yes.
Bam. 6 unanimous, not to fund.
Yes, after further
Alright.
discussion, come to a decision, huh?
It's tough to make decisions sometimes.
I want to just check in at this point. We've been going for about an hour and a half now. Would y'all like to take a bio break? How are you doing?
I would like to take a break, please. 5
Okay.
minutes at least.
Let's do a 5-minute break. Let's come back at 5:25. We'll see you all in just a moment.
All right.
Do I have to relog back in or just sit here?
Oh, you
I
can stay
chill, do
here.
what I need to
Totally,
do.
totally fine to chill. We'll be here in 5 minutes. We'll just get rolling again.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. All right. It's 5:25. When you're ready, please come on back and join us. We'll move on to the next entity.
I'm back. Thank you.
Thank you, Anisha. Yeah, y'all don't have to be on camera if you want to just raise your hand when you get back so that we know that you're here for the vote. That will be plenty. Hi, Hubert. Welcome back. Hi, Melinda. Okay, we have Hubert, Anisha, and Melinda back. Still waiting on Ron and Keisha. And Amy is here too. We'll wait just a couple minutes more and make sure everybody's here. Keisha, you're back? Yes. Did you have a question or are you just letting us know you're back?
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay. Ron, are you back with us yet? Let's wait just another minute for Ron and we'll get going again.
Here I am.
Okay. Welcome back. All right. So coming back, we are still in Benton County. We are reviewing the Benton County burn, and we have come down to the Corvallis Daytime Drop-In Center. Very briefly here, doing some Zoom room maintenance. Please hold just a moment.
Hey, Angela, can I say something to the group?
Please do.
Um, everybody, I know I was one of the first peoples that looked at Benton County in the initial evaluations. And in looking at these guys, so I have looked at what these guys are recommending, and then I have looked and I know what I looked at in it. So I mean, yeah, I like both what both reviewers kind of looked at or said. Just saying that this would be good for a after when we get to that point. It was reviewed by Nicole and myself a long time ago too, so I kind of got a good look at this. That's it.
Okay. Just briefly, although I know that there are not, I will ask if there are any conflicts of interest for Corvallis Daytime Drop-In Center. All right. So Corvallis Daytime Drop-In Center offered to provide harm reduction and supported employment for Benton County. We have two recommendations. One is partial, the other is partial. And I believe that that is meant as budget partial, but not necessarily services partial. And I'm sorry for the confusion. That is. All right. And so the tabs that this entity is listed under would be the CDDC 1 and 2. So again, the recommendation is in G11, but feel free to review the entire rubric. And I will ask now, is there any discussion that you would like to have about this entity? And please take your time reading.
Well, as I'm reading the first evaluator, it says 2 million of the 2.2 is going to the facility and staff and admin costs. And I don't understand what SE is, but it says they do not provide housing. This would be a space to run HR and SE services from. It is the best. It is.
SE is supported employment.
Oh. And they're asking, is this the best use of Measure 110 funds?
Can someone tell me what it means when it says, and notably our latest CDDC data show that the homeless, indigenous, and Black individuals are exceptionally overrepresented in the individuals we serve? What does that mean?
I believe that would mean that they have a higher population than the average population of representation from those groups. So, for instance, if the population was 10% of the general public, maybe they're thinking they have 30% of that particular demographic represented in the people that they serve.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in Eugene? Where's Benton County?
Benton County is, it's not Eugene. I'm trying to remember the county seat.
Corvallis.
Corvallis, thank you.
Okay.
So Corvallis goes, I think it goes, it's not quite all the way to the coast, and it sort of runs, I don't know, maybe 30 miles, 20, 30 miles off the I-5 corridor. I think
And they have a
Harrisburg is
huge,
down at,
and they're saying they have a huge Black population there. Is that what it is?
I think what they're saying is that looking at the overall population of the county versus the number of people that they serve, their population of the Black community is larger than the average population in the county. They serve a greater number than the average population.
I don't know what that means. I don't know. Does that mean they serve more Black people than they do the average population? Is that what they say?
So, can I say something? This is Jessica. Sorry, I'm not on camera. I'm not feeling well. But I just want to say, so what they're saying is the overall, the Black and Indigenous population, right, equals a certain percent in our area, right? So it might be 5%, it might be 10%, right?
Right.
Now we serve a larger percentage of that in our organization. So those individuals are overrepresented in the population that we serve. Does that make sense? Just kind of like when we talk about over incarceration, right? Well,
I mean, I get that, but like, what is it? What is the population? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Is it 8%?
Well,
Nope.
because this is a quote from the grantee, we don't know. This is simply a quote from the grantee that they put to illustrate their point in the rubric. Does that make sense?
No, because the other ones had percentages of the populations they were serving.
Yeah.
Some other
Right.
ones did have that.
Right. And so all these organizations wrote their own applications, thus they're going to be, widely different. So, I mean, this is going to be a value judgment from you all.
Yeah, it's just like, what are you comparing it to?
Right.
Yeah. So I read one. It seems like over 2 million of the budget is going to staff in the facility. It says that they didn't even ask for a harm reduction supplies in the budget. Just like not much going to participants.
Can I make a motion?
Yes.
No. That's my motion.
All right. Hearing Hubert's motion not to fund, do we have a second?
There's also an option for further discussion.
After the second, right?
I mean, this proposal seems pretty reasonable to me. They're asking some questions about the expenses. It seemed to be heavy on salary, but they're not specifically identifying the harm reduction activities that they would be engaged in. It just seems to me that what they're asking for is reasonable. I'm just not sure that, because we want to make sure that these services are provided, and we want to make sure that we get all the services in. And it is being recommended as partial. And we're talking about harm reduction and supported employment. But the question that we have is about the question that we have is about salaries versus activities that actually go to direct client support.
Yeah.
And so I'm in favor of this proposal as partial with, but I'm not sure how much we can modify in our conversation or in our negotiation, how much they commit to direct client services versus salaries, because that's something that can be negotiated.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they can get the money from somewhere else.
The second review says to provide more community member supports, to have the budget be written to be able to provide more supportive employment supports and harm reduction basic needs, to provide more phone minutes for the community members. So it's saying like 2 million is going to this building and restructuring, and not a lot to the intended recipients. So I guess I'm not in favor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have a motion, so, but it hasn't been seconded.
Yeah, I
So-
was both explanations before I went on.
So
Yeah, and Amy's up.
when I reviewed it, guys, we had a lot of concerns, the low amount of hours that they're open even. The fact that
Yeah.
the reason they were asking for this grant was to increase some of their programs and make more available, but they weren't talking about increasing their hours. And so basically, you know, we were kind of on the fence and we're going with a no. So I'm gonna second Hubert's motion. Just, I like the drop-in center. I really do like the drop-in center idea. I just feel that there could be, it could have been a stronger right and more explanation given to the what they were going to use the money for. They to increase substance use disorder, increase peers, increase how they're going to increase a lot of things, but they didn't. It really wasn't super strong, and it didn't. It doesn't just support. It's not in complete alignment with they're applying as part of a burn, not as a burn. So they're only offering specific things. But I think that, you know, I do like the drop-in center. They didn't ask for harm reduction supplies because they already have reduction supplies offered to them. So I mean, we might look at it, but I just at this point in this juncture, without the increase in hours, they're not going to be able to provide the services they're asking us to support. So I'm voting with Hubert.
All right. And just a quick
Okay.
reflection on the second reviewer, C and 29, they really asked that we check and double check their budgets and their current salaries, and they don't have a place in mind anyway. So it just is asking us to
Right,
deep dive.
Keisha. Right. And a lot of their salary stuff that these guys were asking for, that where the questions were coming in, what I learned was that a lot of these guys are splitting salaries in between people, and it just wasn't going to work. I mean, you know, you got two people paying one person. That's a potential for some serious conflict later on. And it was just really confusing when I was reading through the budgets. And that's another reason why I'm seconding the motion at this time.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we have room for further discussion if you would like, or we can move to a vote.
No, let me just read through a little bit of in the budget section.
Go to that,
Yeah.
under P and line 29.
Yeah, I'm reading C, the proposer one. Recommendation is partial because while this appears to be a highly culturally responsive entity with providers that reflect Measure 110 populations, and they propose to offer supported employment and harm reduction service, budget is going primarily to a new facility and staff. They request 2.17 million over 2 million of which goes to the new facility and admin staff costs. So this is an expansion, and we are trying to expand, and that's kind of one of our watchwords is you know, expansion, collaboration, flexibility, and innovation. They do not.
Two, and see what they say on line 29.
Yeah. Okay. So that sounded pretty good.
And then I read 2, and they were like, they don't even have a facility in mind. They're just throwing out costs.
Yeah.
Let's see here. 29. I may be looking at something different, but mine doesn't have anything in G29.
No, C.
Proposal.
C.
Oh, okay. Sorry. For salaries on the budget and description of the proposal, it seems they wanted the funding to cover current salaries. Measure 110 council would want to double check why. So they're saying that, so this is arguing that this is not an expansion, it's existing staff. They wouldn't be adding staff. They would just be covering the salaries for existing staff. They're requesting 2 million, but did not have a building in mind at this time or to remodel. Do they have established quotes on what it would cost to remodel? Yeah, I agree with you that it seems like they haven't done their homework on terms of that kind of allocation for capital costs to make such a request. I agree with you, Keisha.
That's why we got each other. So I guess we can go on with the vote. Hubert's motion and Amy's second for no.
Okay. All right. We're going to start from the top. Amy?
I'm at the top. No, yes, I agree.
Okay. Thanks, Amy. Ron?
Can you come back to me?
All right. All right. Hubert?
No. A motion for no.
You're a yes, then, Hubert.
My vote is no.
So just so you're clear, that means that you accept the recommendation not to fund. So
Yes.
you mean yes? Okay.
Yes,
All right. That's
okay.
all right. Gotcha.
All right.
Melinda.
Yes.
Okay. Onisha.
Yes. Stop picking that seat. Stop it.
All right. Keisha.
Yes.
And then Ron, we'll come back to you.
Yeah, I mean, my only concern is I'm looking at the, I'm gonna make a speech and then a vote.
Make a vote, Ron. Vote, Ron.
My concern is that this is the last organization on the list that would be, of the 3 that offered harm reduction, we're only gonna end up with 1 at this point, until we go back and look at chance. So at this point, because we haven't, there's 3 organizations offering harm reduction. So far, the only one that we've actually accepted would be Benton County Health. I just want to make that point. That I'm not sure that, but Amy, I did hear you say that they actually have harm reduction supplies.
When I was reading through that they have it, and they refer out as well. So they do a lot of referrals to help connect people to where they need to be. A drop-in center, they bring them in and they help refer. So, I mean, they're not gonna lose what they're doing. They're already established. They're well established. They're just asking to increase. So they're not gonna lose their stuff. Anyway, go ahead and vote, Ron.
I know I made a speech and then asked a question. And so now I'm going to vote. And if the answer to the, so if your motion is to vote no, and the answer to then I'm going to disagree and I'm going to vote yes. I'm disagreeing because I'm standing up for harm reduction.
Okay. All right. So the vote passes with 5 and 1 no. All right.
Just a quick note. If any service element is not fulfilled for the county, there is still an option to come back for direct awards at a later time. All right. So That was the Corvallis Daytime Drop-In Center. The vote is not to fund. And our next entity is Corvallis Housing First. Are there any conflicts of interest with Corvallis Housing First? All right. Corvallis Housing First has offered to provide housing for Benton County. There are 2 reviews. One is a partial, and the other is, yes, a partial. The Corvallis Housing First tabs, sorry, please hold. All right. Corvallis Housing First is under the tab labeled CHSC 1 and 2. Give you a moment to review those rubrics. And I invite any discussion that you may have. And when you are ready, please feel free to make an appropriate motion.
I would move that we accept the recommendation of yes to fund partial funding.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to award with negotiation of the budget. But any discussion at this time? All right, no discussion. When you are ready, Walter, we can go ahead and do the vote.
Okay. All right. And we have Amy. How do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. Ron?
Yes.
All right. Hubert?
Yes.
Melinda?
Yes.
And Onisha?
Yes.
And Lakeisha?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right.
That passes with 6.
So Corvallis Housing First is receiving funding for housing services in Benton County. All right.
Is that partial?
The budget will still be negotiated, but the only service that they are providing is housing. So yes to housing with negotiation of the budget.
I still didn't get that a clear answer. Was that yes to partial funding?
Yes to partial funding. There will be negotiation of the budget. All right. Next up, we have Crossroads Communities. Crossroads Communities has offered to provide supported employment for Benton County. We have 2 reviews. One is for no or partial, and the other is for yes or partial. Crossroads Communities can be found in your review sheet under CRC 1 and 2. I will give you all a moment to read through that. And when you feel ready, you may make a motion or discuss further. I'm also noticing that it is 5:55. We have approximately an hour left of the meeting.
So if I'm reading this right, on number one, it says that they want to use the ballot measure 110 funds, a majority of the funds for office supplies. Hey, and to supply the office stuff for the stuff like that. And is that a good use of the funds? You know, they need tablets for the field, for data collection and some things like that. I mean, so it says that the application was confusing and some of the ask is there, but I get possibly needing tablets in the field and stuff. I don't see buying clients phones because we all know what happens to phones that we buy people in their addiction. But my concern with this is it the best use of ballot measure 110 funds? Because they already have a substantial funding backing. And I'm not discounting that they would need funding, but their ask is for community memberships and budgeted technological assistance and things like that. So I have some concerns with this company, and I just would go with I agree that I have some concerns for this because. And another thing about they're asking for training and stuff like that. If you look at the amount that they're asking for training, when I was looking for this, the amount they were asking for training was an absolutely absurd amount because trainings don't cost that much. And I know that. So I was just really held back by this company, but I'll allow. Oh my God, please pardon my mouth. I will move out of the way so that you guys can review too, but I'm sorry about the background. But I'm concerned with this.
I agree with Amy.
I was looking and the reviewer one said that their supportive employment is targeted to veteran services mostly. I mean, they're not looking for a large amount really. But I don't know. They had a lot of concerns.
Because looks like the primary focus of this applicant is supported employment. And so under D62 or 62D, Community Crossroads Communities currently offers a workforce training program, which includes job skills training, resume prep, job hunting support, career fairs, and vocational training. As of 2022, CRC will be implementing a job placement program in which some payroll expenses will be covered on behalf of local businesses willing to accept trainees. After 3 months, the business may then elect to hire the client as a standard employee. This job placement program can be expanded with additional funds. It is currently focused on veterans, but CRC is seeking to include individuals who have been previously justice involved and clients who have been suffering from substance abuse. The program is designed to provide a total of 320 30-hour work weeks, paying at least $14 an hour or approximately 24 to 36 for approximately 24 to 36 participants. This mirrors an employment program CRC is instituting in Lynn County. The proposed budget for this program for Benton County is $82,000. It seems reasonable to me.
So as I'm reading first proposer, number one, E62, it says their focus has been on veterans, not those with SUD. Those with SUD are estimated at 20%. They say they're trying to increase the numbers with funding, but SE is contingent on sobriety in some cases because their partnerships were not designed for people who use substances. This needs to change to be in alignment with Measure 110. All their services are good for training, but it's just not targeted at our population.
I'm going to make a motion at this time not to fund Crossroad Communities.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say something about the budget. On C29, it says in CRC 1, critical inconsistencies or error. Budget narrative asks for 1.7 million, 1.7, million, but budget only 700K. The budget shows similar vague answers to the application for administrative expensive. They ask for 33K and say administrative expenses are related to program expenses, which will be limited until August. When CRC begins coordinating for on-site residential services with a 100-unit affordable housing project in Corvallis, singular large admin expensive include insurance. $2,200 paid every July. What does that mean? Like their budget's not, what they're asking for is not adding up to the services that they're offering.
Yeah, because I ain't seeing nowhere close to no millions in this budget.
Right.
Well,
I was looking at the wrong.
one thing I'll mention is that in the grid, and the first grid, and the proposal, and the evaluators talk about this, is that they're putting in elements that they're describing elements that they're not specifically are proposing. Because if you look at the summary, they're only offering supported employment at $700,000.
Right.
Right.
And so they're not offering these other services, but they're talking about them and describing them in their proposal. So this is kind of what creates confusion about this particular proposal.
That's what I see.
And no, I was looking at, I thought the budget was something different.
It says the narrative asked for 1.75 million.
Right.
So are we in the vote or where are we at?
We're in a vote.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Good
make a
one.
motion to vote not to fund.
Right.
Yep, that's it. Amy, how do you vote? Amy?
She's on
Okay.
mute.
Yeah. All right. Ron?
I vote yes. Sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, not to fund.
Okay. Thanks, Ron. And Hubert?
Yes, not to fund.
Gotcha. Melinda?
Yes, not to fund.
Okay. Onisha?
Yes, not to fund.
Keisha?
Yes, not to fund.
Gotcha. 6. Not to fund. Back to you, Angela.
All right. Thank you. Next on our list is Family Recovery Incorporated. Any conflicts of interest? All right. Family Recovery Incorporated has applied to provide substance use disorder treatment, peer support, and housing for Benton County. We have 2 recommendations: yes, partial, and yes, partial. The Family Recovery Incorporated rubrics may be found under Family Recovery 1 and Family Recovery 2. I will give you all a moment to read. When you feel ready, please feel free to discuss or present a motion.
I'm just going to put this out there. If both of the evaluators had looked at this, and it does also seem like it treats you too, I would like to say I recommend we, oh my God, I just went blank. Vote with my motion is to accept the recommendation of the.
Oh, Amy, you went on mute.
Is that to partial fund or to fully fund?
I think there's a call coming in for Amy and she's not able to
She's on.
hear.
Yeah, I'm trying to read through the concerns real fast.
Did you hear what I was saying? I'm sorry, I got interrupted.
It's okay. No, we were not able to hear you. You went on mute.
I was just saying that we could, I was looking through this and looking at some of it, that it was a yes for partial fund by both of the evaluators. And my guess, I would like to I know we need discussion to make a motion to accept the evaluator's recommendation of partial funding. Yes, partial funding.
For all of the service elements? Okay.
Yes.
So we have a motion to award family recovery.
Second.
We have a second to award family recovery with a look at the budget and modifications. Is there any further discussion that you would like to have on family recovery before we go to a vote?
I believe a couple of people said they would like to review it rather quickly, just really quick.
That is totally fine.
Just read through what they wrote in the rubric. Are y'all there?
Yeah, so I don't know that I would say yes to funding all the elements, but another motion's on the table. The only discussion is they mention a goal to hire peers that reflect the population, but they don't have a clear plan to do that, and it's not really stated. And yeah, it's just a lot of concerns in both 1 and 2s. But I say yes partially, but I can't say all the elements.
Which elements are you considering?
I thought we didn't have to make that decision. We have to make that decision now.
In order to create the contracts, we need to know which of the service elements of the 5 different parts you would like to have be a part of this burn, or of this entity's award, rather. So if you would like all of them to be a part, can vote for that. If you would like to select 2 out of the 3, you could vote for that.
So
But in order
look,
to,
like in the summary, they don't say, yes, partially fund this, this, and this. You have to scroll through and try to figure out from each comment what they're talking about.
So it sounds like it's the peer support. You're not interested in recommending approval for the peer support.
No, I didn't say that. It's a lot. I mean, they both have different concerns, and it's a lot across the board. So to make a decision on what to fund and
Well, their housing program is strong, so I'd like to recommend that we do housing, because it is strong. Their peer program is what's at question. They need a stronger peer program. So the SUD, low barrier treatment, that one's strong. They got strong compliments in that one, but the peer needed some work, and then the housing was strong. So if we do partial funding for housing and SUD, I mean, we all know we need SUD, more SUDS treatment. So, I mean, is that something you're interested in with the partial funding?
So
I don't know. So under the
set up to be ran without them
says-
being monitored by the peer mentors though? Or the SUD treatment, is it peer-to-peer to recovery counseling, or do they have A&D counselors only for their SUD?
and so real quick with the housing piece, it says the proposal only houses people on the path to recovery. They do not help people not on the path to recovery. So I don't know how strong that is. If
So it says their population, they serve a wide population of people. True, it did say that they don't help people. It says that they don't help people with SUD or without SUD issues, or no, I'm sorry, without recovery. So, I mean, that's something that we could look at, that's why it's a review. You'd have to help all if, we're going to do that. But when we look at what they do, then I'd like to at least fund their SUDS treatment program and their peers then to strengthen their peer program. Because housing can, usually pay for itself anyway if they do it right. And there are other grants for housing. So, I mean, is that something you're comfortable with, Keisha?
well, on the peer portion, their concern is they don't have a clear plan to hire a diverse workforce.
No, they don't have a clear plans, but their SED is strong. So I'd like to fund I'd like to at least fund the SUDS program. So my motion is to partially fund with strong consideration leaning towards the SUDS.
So I'm not disagreeing with you, Amy. I am for funding the SUD treatment, but my only thing is if we don't fund the peer support, will that damper the SUD program? Because most SUD programs have a peer support component in it. So if we don't fund to support the peer supporter's salary, will that hurt their SUD treatment program? I wonder, will it hurt them if we don't fund both components is my only question.
I don't know that it would hurt them, but it may hold them back from expanding, doing some addition. So if you want to fund those two things, I can add that to amend my motion to partially fund for SUD and peer services.
So I just got a little quick question. In both of these, they're talking about that they are the only organization that works with the federally recognized tribe.
That's not true. I mean, they're not the only organization that works with federally recognized tribe. I worked at a treatment center over here in Eastern Oregon that takes tribal all the time.
That was their push to partially fund them because they're the only applicant that works with federally recognized tribes. But then
Yeah.
their staff doesn't reflect that in the yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's not true. They're not the only ones. They may thought they were, but they're not.
I'm asking, what is the concern about peers?
Well, we are concerned because we want to make sure that they still have peer support staff to help their clients after the SUDS and during the SUDS to help them with wraparound services and stuff. So I think that it would behoove us to have them do the partial funding, looking at the SUDS and peer support programs that they're wanting to do. And that was because, Ron, we know they already have some peer, but it's not a strong peer program, it sounds like. And so that would help them to strengthen possibly their peer program and maybe get some more peers. But that's why we're looking at both SUD and peer. I'm sorry about that.
Concerns they talked to, it says, and the reviewer one G11, I'm trying to see because it's so little, but it's about the racially based peers from family FHC when FHC does not have these peers in place. But yeah, I can't really see it, but it was like some concerns that the peers or the workforce is not gonna match the diverse populations, and it's like no clear goal to, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read this whole thing. We recommend this proposal for an award. Yes, but partial because they're the only applicant in the county to work with federally recognized tribes, including their own wellness practices. They show a breadth of services, provide housing for county, and have creative solutions to work with SUD patients, hikes, cultural events. But concerns include the burn is relying on receiving their, this is a weird phrase, racially based peers from FHC. When FHC does not have these peers in place, but plans, they do not have the peers in place, but plans to hopefully hire them through this grant. This is the evaluator talking. Is there housing low barrier? See housing section. Should we spend Measure 110 money on training? Can they ensure who they are hiring are not just peers or people of BIPAC communities? They don't apply as harm reduction for the burn, but offer naloxone. What are gift cards for? Should the requested funds provide for more harm reduction and clarify actual services? No specific strategy around types of peers hired. Would they reflect, and these are recommendations, would they, should they request funds for provide more harm reduction and actual, no specific strategy around types of peers hired. Would they reflect cultural populations of this county? Why do they mention relying on FHC for racially diverse peers? Can't they prioritize this too? All are funded requests appropriate for Measure 110. That was probably only helpful to me.
So, but yeah, and so I was reading on that, and like the second proposal says the same exact thing, like they're the only county, yes, because they're the only county, maybe it says something a little different. They had some other concerns about case managers and different things, but
Do we got a motion?
Yep. There's a motion. Yeah. Accept recommendation to partially award SUDS/peer support programs. Are you guys ready to vote?
I am.
Any more discussion? We'll take the vote. Amy, how do you vote? Amy, you there? Oh, okay. Ron?
Hey, though.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Ron. Hubert.
I'm sorry, guys. Can you repeat what you said?
Oh, how do you?
Are we
how do you-
voting?
Yes. How do you vote?
There's a
Accept
motion on the table. Oh, go ahead, Walter.
I
Sorry.
can't
No.
hear you.
Go ahead, Angela.
There is a motion to partially fund for 2 of the 3 services. The services that were being offered were SUD treatment, peer support, and housing. And the motion is to fund the SUD treatment and peer support. So a yes vote would be for a partial award for Family Recovery Incorporated for treatment and peer support.
I'm voting yes.
All right. Thanks, Amy. Hubert.
Yes, I'd vote yes for peer support and treatment.
All right. Thank you. Melinda.
Yes.
All right. Onisha
Yes.
and Keisha.
no.
All right. Vote passes with 5 to accept recommendations to partially award SUDS/peer support programs. Back to you, Angela.
All right. Thank you all. Next up, we have the Family Tree Relief Nursery, which has, oh, are there any conflicts of interest for Family Tree Relief Nursery? They have offered to provide peer support, and we have 2 recommendations. One is yes, partial. The other is yes. Family Tree Relief Nursery can be found under the FTRN 1 and 2 tabs of the spreadsheet. So please take your time reading and considering. You're welcome to have discussion or make a motion. I will also say that we do have a hard stop at 7 o'clock. I would like to leave approximately 15 minutes for discussion of the schedule moving forward. Amy can't hear. Oh dear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Amy, we can hear
Can
you.
you tell me if it's okay to sign out and sign back into the Zoom?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm gonna try that right now to see if it fixes my volume. Oh, man.
All right. Let's wait a moment for Amy to come back, but please feel free to read through. Welcome back, Amy. Can you hear us?
Oh, thank God. Yes. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
good.
Oh, so what are we doing right now? Sorry.
Right now, we are reviewing Family Tree Relief Nursery, which has applied to offer peer support, and the recommendations are yes for a partial and yes.
I think this is a pretty good peer proposal. Evaluator number 2 seems to mention this in most of their evaluations, that the proposer doesn't specifically mention how they're going to do outreach to BIPOC communities. And they continue to mention that the proposer doesn't describe how they'll work with federally recognized tribes. But I don't think that should hold this particular proposal up. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, both from both proposals around not the inclusivity.
Yeah. So I would make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the evaluators to fund.
Partially.
Yes, yes.
They're only providing peer support services, so you would be funding peer support services, but with a look at the budget,
You're right.
and a reduction. All right, so we have a motion and we have a
Second.
second.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion that you would like to have before we move to a vote? Sorry, Keisha, what did you say?
Just clarity on the motion.
So the motion is to fund. The motion is to fund Family Tree Relief Nursery for peer support. But as with all of these, we will be going back and negotiating the budget.
That's confusing to me. Are we partially funding or fully funding?
So one of the evaluators recommended yes, partial.
I'll
And
be
the other
right back.
evaluator recommended yes. So
Clarity, are we partially funding or fully funding?
What's your motion, Ron?
my motion was yes, fund, and allow OHA to negotiate the funding level.
So are you saying yes, partially fund, in other words? So that they can negotiate?
Yes.
Okay, then you might want to restate your motion.
I might be getting a little loopy, but I thought I did.
Now that's why I needed clarity. Like, are we saying yes, partially fund or?
All the budgets for all of the entities will be negotiated.
Oh, yeah, let's stay right here. This motion is to partially fund.
Yes, and I second it.
Is there any further discussion?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So the motion to agree with the recommendation and to fund peer support with negotiations on the budget is on the table for a vote.
So I thought you had to say partial or when you said when you start using
All of them will be partial. Every single one will be negotiated.
Right. Yeah, see, but if we don't stay here, when you said either full, partial, or no, I thought that was our options: full, partial, no.
Yes, partial means not all of the service elements. There's only one service element for this entity,
So
peer
I thought
support.
partial meant budget, not the full funding of the budget.
We're not talking about budget at all today.
Oh, this is way sideways now.
So
All
they
of
only
the
offer one service, so let's just do this vote because they're only going to get partially funded for whatever service these guys are offering.
Yeah, there's only one service, so the argument.
let's just
Andy was
vote.
making-
Let's do a
was
vote.
making earlier does not apply here.
If we
Yes.
are ready, we can. Thank you, Walter.
Yeah, let's go. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. Ron,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Melinda,
Yes.
Onisha,
Yes.
Keisha,
Yes, I'm saying yes to the vote of partially funding this organization. I don't know. I still was a little unclear what the motion was.
That gets us there. Thank you, Keisha.
Keep going.
Walter, did we lose you?
Oh, no. That vote passes with 6. And then you're back up, Angela, to the next one.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next on the list we have Faith, Hope, and Charity listed as FHC on the rubric. This will have to be for tonight, the last of the entities that we will vote for, as we only have 10 minutes left to get through the vote. This is, are there any conflicts of interest? All right, FHC has offered to provide peer support services. We have two recommendations, no partial or no partial. The rubrics are listed under FHC, tabs 1 and 2. I'll give you a moment to read. And if we are able to get a vote before 6:45, that is wonderful. If not, we need to stop and have the discussion of the meeting schedule for next week and beyond, so that we can make a decision about how many times we'll be meeting a week and what time.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the evaluators' recommendation for no funding.
All right. Amy has made a motion not to award. Ron has seconded. Is there any discussion? All right. Walter, when you're ready.
Okay. Amy.
Yes.
Thanks, Amy. Ron.
Yes.
Hubert.
Yes.
Melinda.
Yes.
Onisha. Uh-oh. Onisha? Okay. Keisha.
Wow, I was trying to read, but I guess we moved to vote. No discussion. I'm a abstain because I didn't really get to read what the
Okay.
issue.
Okay. And Onisha.
Onisha, did we lose you? I know there's a lot of things going on for folks, and there's maybe some multitasking happening.
Right. Maybe she'll come back. But as it looks, there's they have the majority of with 4, one abstention, and then not applicable since we haven't heard from Onisha. So do you want to give her a few more seconds or?
It still passes though, right? Majority.
Yep.
Let's
It
move.
does.
Let's
Let's
move.
move.
All right. We have 2 entities left, and I will offer the next one, and if we can get through it by 6:45, we'll do it. The next entity is the Pathfinder Club of Oregon. Any conflicts of interest? All right. Pathfinder Club of Oregon has offered to provide supported employment. We have a recommendation for yes partial and another for yes. The rubrics are under Pathfinder 1 and Pathfinder 2, near the far end of the list.
I'd like to make a motion to yes, partially fund. And the reason I say partially is so that we can review the budget and make sure where the money's going.
All budgets will be reviewed prior to funding.
Yep. So yes, partial.
I second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to award Pathfinder Club of Oregon. Is there any further discussion? All right. When you are ready, Walter, please go ahead.
Okay. All right, Amy,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Hubert,
Yes.
Melinda,
Yes.
Onisha, Keisha.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah,
Keisha.
partial funding, right?
Yes. Yes, for partial funding.
Well, we got
Uh-oh.
one more.
Yeah, just your. Yep. But what did you vote, Keisha?
Yes, partial funding. If that's
Gotcha. All right. Yep, that passes with 6. We have one more.
Almost
We
like we
have
could
one
be
more.
using, almost like we should be using the phrase negotiated funding.
Let's do
We
this
can
last.
always refine the process in the language if it makes more sense to say it another way. The final entity in tonight's review is Samaritan Health Services Incorporated. Any conflicts of interest? Samaritan Health Services Incorporated has offered to provide substance use disorder treatment and peer support. We have 2 recommendations. They are for no partial or no partial. The rubrics may be found at the far end of the spreadsheet.
I make a motion to not fund this entity by the recommendation.
I'll second Keisha's motion.
All right, any further discussion of this entity or the motion?
Okay.
All right,
All right. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. Ron,
Yes.
all right. Hubert,
Yes.
Melinda,
Yes.
Onisha,
Yes.
Keisha.
Yes.
Okay. That passes with 6. Not to fund.
Done in record time.
We did it. We did a whole county.
well
Beautiful.
done. All
Now
right,
just 32 more to go. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't be
congratulations
a
on
Debbie
getting
Downer. No, I'm just kidding.
Debbie Downer.
congratulations on getting through the county.
Right.
All right, so now is the time to pull out your calendars and let's take a look at our schedule for the following weeks. Ideally, if we could have a consistent meeting time each week, and if you could also let us know how many times a week you wish to meet and for how many hours per meeting, that would be helpful for us to schedule. So, yes, Jessica.
Hi, y'all. I just want to make a bit of a plea here. These need to be public meetings, and in order for that to happen, we have to have we have to have the whole setup. We have to announce it. We have to have a videographer and all that good stuff. And we would, it's really hard to do that when we don't have consistent meetings. So if we can come up with, if this is a good time for everybody, we can do this, or whatever time we come up with, if we could just make that consistent all week or for the duration, that would be really great.
I can do it Tuesdays and Fridays.
So I'm hearing a vote for 2 meetings. And Keisha, yes, you have your hand up.
Yeah, this is a good time every other week, but not every week. I have a meeting every other Wednesday at night. But this was a good time for this. What's this? Wednesday.
This is Thursday.
Oh, it's Thursday. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
So how about 2 meetings a week for, does 2 meetings a week for 3 hours per meeting feel workable to you?
Ooh,
I can do that.
we have to do it.
All right.
So
Fridays are more free.
Onisha, are you gonna be able to do Thursdays?
That's why they eat.
Thursdays from 4 to 7. I mean, I could do it late in the evening.
Okay, but you can do 4 to 7, you said?
Yeah, I mean, I can. Yeah, it's gonna be a long day for me, but I can do it.
So are we saying
Okay.
Tuesday and Thursday from 4 to 7?
So, yeah, that's what I'm asking. Is that Tuesday and
Okay.
Thursday from 4 to 7?
Sounds good to me. I can.
Yeah,
Okay,
I prefer not to do Wednesdays. I'm already
Tuesday
packed.
and Thursday, 4 to 7.
Tuesday, Thursday, 4 to 7. Does that work for you, Melinda?
Absolutely.
Okay.
so
And
Tuesday,
I think that's everybody. So we'll put
Hey.
in,
Angela?
mhm.
Oh, no, I'll be doing it from Arizona then not next week, but the week after I graduate from college. So I'll be in my commencement. So,
Congratulations.
thank
we-
you.
Congratulations,
Can we
Amy.
just make sure we get calendar invites and not the email with the
Right.
link here? Because I
You-
forget to put on my calendar.
You will definitely
Yeah,
get
the
calendar
sooner the
invites.
better, so none of my bosses will put anything on my calendar.
We will send out the calendar invitations as soon as possible. And we will also send out the rubrics a minimum of 2 days beforehand. Please request all of the applications from us that you would like to review prior to the meetings.
Yeah.
And I
One last-
believe, yeah.
For the rubrics, can you put urgent in the subject line? Because I'll get lost.
I will put urgent action item in the subject line when
Thank
we
you.
send out the rubrics.
Thank you.
All right. So Tuesday and Thursday from 4 to 7, I'm going to schedule us out for 6 weeks just to make sure that we have enough meetings. If we